Here's the thing. I really need to learn how to do face tracking. I need to go back on YouTube so that it stays focused on my face. I feel like I have to look at the viewfinder to make sure that it stays focused on my face. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lizzie. We're gonna be doing a wrap up. So I'm gonna let you know everything I read in the last month. I have all but 2 of the books physically with me in person. So it was a pretty good reading map. I think I read about like 6 or 7 books. I would say they were all a good time. So yes, we'll begin with this one. I'm just like, I need to stop staring at the viewfinder, but I fear I will be out of focus because I just really watched back some of the footage and I am fuzzy a lot of the time. Anyways, this is Cascade Failure. It's a sci-fi, a found family. I literally picked it up because it described that it had the stakes of the expanse. It had found family like Becky Chambers and the snark of Murderbot. And I said, sign me up, even though I have not read the expanse. This book, you first are introduced to Hall, who you can tell has been in some sort of trouble. And he's wandering around trying to get back to like the residential place on this planet. And he's like, if I can hop on a ship, then I can convince them to take me there. He hops on a ship. The ship essentially traps him and forces him to interact with a person he once upon a time knew. It starts off with a perceived arch nemesis. You're like, whoa, what's happening here? And you learned to find out that that person is not arch nemesis, just a person that they've had a previous relationship with that did not end so well. And I would have to say that I believe like the familiar stakes of this, like the family dynamic and the relationship dynamics, I believe the stakes, like when they were having like intense conversations, I got teary-eyed and I felt for the characters. I've never read The Expanse, so again, I don't know if the stakes are anywhere there. I did believe that if they did not get what they needed accomplished, that like bad things would happen. I did like get a little teary-eyed here and there, like a little watery in the story. I really enjoyed this. Book 2 comes out in like late July and I cannot wait to dive back into this. Like, it was so good. To me, this was like my biggest shocker of the month. I feel like most people's first interaction with this author is The Dowry of Blood. However, I have yet to read that. After reading this, I think I definitely do want to read it. This book is about David, who is a medium. He has a session and has a weird encounter with a spirit, and it unnerves him so much that he feels the need to contact his ex, Reese, because Reese is someone who I guess like communes with the shadows and whatnot, and so he's like, I have to talk to him. He's the only one who can help me with this problem. But the problem is that Reese wants something to do with him as an ex-lover he's not married to Maura, because he's like, I gotta focus on my wife. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're a hot mess. Get away from me. Well, finally, Maura and Reese hear David out and decide to help him out on this incident that's happening, and the adventure pursues. Right? I was screaming, kiss already? This whole book! Now, did I get the kiss? I don't know. You'll have to read it and find out. I was really pleasantly surprised. I love this. Also, it also helps that this book is gorgeous. Look at that. Okay, and it comes with a bookmark, so that's pretty cool. So I don't know when book 2 for that comes out, but I am in fact looking forward to it. Now, at the beginning of the month, I read Where the Dark Stands Still. This is like a Slavic novel. I guess like maybe a retelling of folklore, or just like an inclusion of folklore. You have, I don't know what her name is. Lesky. There you go. Lesky has magic. Guess she doesn't want it, because in the world that she lives in, not having magic is like better than having magic. And so she goes to try to find this flower in the forest and runs into essentially a Lesky. And the Lesky is like, well, you don't want your magic, I need a servant. So if you're my servant for a whole year, I'll remove your magic for you. She's like, deal, babes. And so hence the adventure begins. I had a good time. I enjoyed the Kikimoras and the Leshis and all of that. I did cry at the end of this book because it does not end in a way that I thought it was going to, and it made me sad. However, we were like, I don't know, I feel like people were gushing about like how beautifully written this book was, and maybe that's just not the type of reader I am, but I didn't find it to be anything special. I did have a good time though, enough that I cried. So obviously something was good about it, you know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Then I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is about Pip, who decides as a capstone for her class in high school to look through a cold case, a closed case that happens in her neighborhood, in her community, because she believes the person who is accused of committing the crime, who never stood trial for the crime, is not actually the person who committed the crime. And so she goes on the adventure of trying to figure out whether or not that person really did commit that crime or not. It's a bit wild, and the end took me. I said, what? And this book did exactly what I wanted it to. I was restless, I didn't know what to read, and I read this one. Perfect. An anticipated new release, Icons and Infernos, is book 2 of like the Stars and Smoke series, which is essentially, I feel like, I guess I don't think it's a comp title because I've never actually read Veronica Speedwell, but I feel like the same dynamic of like solving mysteries and having like a romantic subplot is the same, except this is Sydney and she's a secret agent. This is Winter, he's a pop star, internationally so. And in Stars and Smokes, which is the title of book 1 as well as the series, Winter is recruited to help Sydney, a secret agent, with a mission, and they need Winter's identity as a cover to finish out this threat that may be happening and to figure out and to, I guess, get the bad guys, if you would. There's a romantic subplot, so there's will they, won't they. Sometimes there's some romantic moments, not. In book 2, it's just a continuation of that. Obviously in book 1, I don't know if it's obvious, but they have to, of course, go their separate ways if this is going to be a series. So Sydney continues on with her secret service life. Winter continues on being a pop star. And in book 2, Sydney has to re-recruit Winter to do another mission. And of course, he agrees. And there you have it, folks, book 2. I was, in fact, disappointed, though, that there was not, to me, I needed more screen time on the page. And I didn't get it. And I was a bit disappointed. Now, the 2 books that I'll put here that I don't have physical copies of are Murderbot 3 and 4. And Murderbot is about a sentient robot. He's named himself, they have named themselves Murderbot. Sorry, I put a gender on it. They have named themselves Murderbot. They have hacked their governance pod that makes them controllable via the government and other people for like these jobs. Like he's essentially a guard of sorts and also like a killing machine. And so he's hacked it, but he doesn't want other people to know that he's hacked it, so therefore has to continue on playing this role. And he has to interact with humans who he's not a big fan of, at least in book 1. By book 3 and 4, he's not the biggest fan, but he's starting to become fond of humans. So in book 3 and 4, they're just novellas that carry on Murderbot's journey throughout the space universe, doing what he needs to do, maybe getting back to his people, maybe he's already back with his people, maybe he's helping others, maybe he's not, maybe he's just lounging around watching reality TV. It's just a little snippet of a life. And I have to say I really enjoyed 3 and 4 over 1 and 2. And I'm looking forward to book 5, because I think it's a much longer book. I think it's like under 300 pages, but it's more than like 120 pages. So that'll be fun. Now, what I'm going to toss in here is the 2 books that I really want to read next month. One, I absolutely have to, well, I don't absolutely have to. Who's saying I absolutely have to read my book club selection? No one. But I'm wanting to read Middle of the Night because it is the Literally Dead book club selection for July, which is Books and Lala's book club. And I don't always read all of her books because I'm not a super horror girly, but I do, the ones that I find interesting, I do pick up. So this is, last year everyone read The Only One Is Left. I think this time last year is when that one came out, and I had a good time. It was wild. but I really enjoyed it. And so I'm hoping, I don't think this one's gonna be wild. I really don't know what this one's about. It literally just says a man must contend with the long ago disappearance of his childhood best friend and the dark secrets lurking just beyond the safe confines of his picture perfect neighborhood. I don't know. So I'm here for it. We're reading this in July. The live show I'm sure will be in November probably. Also, if you don't watch Books and Lala but you watch Gabby Reads, she's also reading this, I think in July, so that she can make a spoiler-filled vlog in August with Gavin Reads It All and Katie Clausen. They're doing like this thing where they're gonna like live react to the book, and I think they're gonna come put it all together and then like post the video, and then they're each gonna do a different book for each other's channel. So when it's Gavin's turn, they're gonna read Gavin's pick, and when it's Katie's turn, they're gonna read Katie's turn. Anyways, it sounds really interesting. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it seems like this is the book to read perhaps in July, August. So that's one I want to read. The other one that I want to read, because this one's coming up in the library, my audiobook hold is coming up, is Hearts That Cut. This is book 2 to The Threads That Bind, which is a Greek retelling of the Fated Sisters. I feel like in one vlog I posted a picture of the 3 people from Hercules. That's all I can think about. Or if you watched, I was gonna say Percy Jackson, but they don't really come across as like 3 separate beings. There's just 3 people there, and they almost cut a string or don't cut a string, or Annabeth sees a string being cut. She's the one who can cut the strings. Her 2 other sisters are the other options, which I guess is like to whittle one, I don't know, and to build one, or to weave one. I don't really know. I don't know a lot about Greek mythology. So anyways, in book 1, this girly pop can cut strings. I'm wanting it to focus on my face. There it goes. She can cut strings. She can also see strings. Therefore, it's how she can cut them. She sees that she has a soulmate, essentially, and she battles a lot with whether or not she should cut the string or not, and avoids him like he's the plague. However, like, family dynamics get involved. The sisters are not what they seem. She is not what she seems. Things are happening. The world is not as it seems, and it progresses from there. I didn't give you a whole lot because honestly, I cannot genuinely remember like what the thing is. I think she gets paid to cut strings, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, I just know that I had a really good time, and I still remember having a good time, and so therefore I really want to read. This is the end of the series. I believe it's just a duology, so I'm here for it. My library book should come in fairly soon. Fingers crossed. Now, I want to rank these books, the physical ones I have in front of me, which obviously does not include the 2 murder bots. So just the ones in front of me. I think I'm going to steal Books and Lala's fan suggestion. And by fan, I mean subscriber suggestion or member suggestion. I would put it on the screen. However, I don't think that's fair to the person who commented, because like you commented on a YouTuber you watch, and I'm just a random girly pop on the internet. However, not my idea. But she suggested reviewing them in order of like most accurate to the cover to least accurate. So I've already told you about the books, but I'm going to now show you the least accurate to the most accurate book cover. Sounds like a plan, Stan? Sounds like a plan. Okay. Least accurate is this one, because this scene doesn't take place. And I'm mad about it. I'm gonna be honest. Next is these strings. I don't think she had a bulletin board full of this. If she did, I don't remember it. But I don't think she was, you know, so not very accurate. Middle of the road. Okay. Middle of the road would be this one, because this is obviously the found family that is in the book. However, like this scene where they're all on top of this thing doesn't happen. Nor does anything kind of close to happen. Like, but the way the world is situated, this very much is the world that we're in. So it's like halfway accurate of like, this is very much the actual vibe of the book. with the family. So, next, to second most accurate is this one. Because if you read the book, you understand why he's in this position, because he's represented by the hangman, and if you know anything about tarot, then you know. And this red claw is just so perfect. And it just, like, if you've read the book, I'm like, this is so accurate to what represents, like, the story. And the candles and the cloak and everything. It's just like, yes. Now, the most accurate is Where the Dark Stands Still, because this is, in fact, the main character, the love interest. They're in a forest. The antlers, they turn to the back, and there's the whole manor that they end up staying at. That concludes both my wrap up, a random type of ranking for the books that I have physically, and what I absolutely hope to be reading. So here's hoping that I read these next 2 books in the next 30 days. Please, please, let it be in my wrap up next month. Also, last minute, folks, look at that space shuttle. I'm wearing my Lewis Hamilton merch from the Miami Grand Prix. I'm gonna find a toilet. Anyways, can you see the NASA? Woo! Okay, that's all. I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely night, a lovely weekend. If you'd like to engage in the video, let me know what book you felt that you read covered most accurately. Describe the story. And what are you reading next month? Are you reading middle of the night like the rest of us? Or something else? Did you hear my roommate sneeze? I didn't know they were in the living room. Okay, that's all. Bye.